Okay, let's go to Exodus. And we're going to start at the 24th chapter. I guess we could take 5 verses each and we'll go into the 25th chapter. Okay? So what we're reading is according to the covenant that was given to us coming out of Israel. After that, we had a few questions that we were going to ask a few brothers and a few of the sisters just to make sure they're up on some of the studies. So I guess we'll do that right afterwards and see what we get from that. You ready? Ava, you ready? We got some questions for you too. And then after that, we're going to go into the lesson to show that according to scriptures, and I'm going to bring this out, that even that according to scriptures, there will be a flood that's going to take out the majority of New York. I seen it this morning, and it's clear what's going to happen, and it's in the Bible. All right, maybe I need to do that first, huh? All right, but let's start off with Exodus, the 24th chapter, just so each man 12 and over can read out of the law. And for those who don't understand, 12 and over read out of the law. This is what we did every Sabbath in the synagogues. So when you see Christ contending in the temple since the age of 12, and how he went and discoursed with the Pharisees on the Sabbath, this is what they did on the Sabbath day. They would read out of the law. All right, you can start off, lawyer here.
The book of Exodus, chapter 24, verse 1. And he said unto Moses, Come up unto the Most High Ahiah, thou and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel, and worship ye afar off. And Moses alone shall come near the Lord, but they shall not come nigh, neither shall the people go up with him. And Moses came and told the people all the words of the Most High Ahiah, and all the judgments. And all the people answered with one voice and said, All the words which the Most High Ahiah said, will we do. Verse 4. And Moses wrote all the words of the Most High Ahiah, and rose up early in the morning, and builded an altar under the hill, and 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Israel. And he sent young men of the children of Israel, which offered burnt offerings and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen unto the Most High Ahiah.
Now this is what happened when we went into the wilderness. It so happened that the 12 pillars that our people built in Exodus the 24th chapter are actually in the same location today. So we're going to go and behold those 12 pillars in the midst of the last war. But everything is still the same. What we read, it's still set up. There's gates around it that's protecting it. Maybe the Most High put a spirit on the Saudis to keep it from the Western world. I don't know, but I know they haven't touched it. All right. I'm going to read from 6 to 10. And Moses took half of the blood and put it in a basin, and half of the blood he sprinkled on the altar. And he took the book of the covenant and read in the audience of the people. And they said, All that the Most High have said will we do, and be obedient. And Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people, and said, Behold, the blood of the covenant which the Most High have made with you concerning all these words. Then went up Moses and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel, and they saw the power, the God of Israel, and there was under his feet as it were a paved work of sapphire stone, and as it were the body of heaven in his clearness. Go ahead. Mark.
Verse 11. And upon the nobles of the children of Israel he laid not his hand. Also they saw the Most High, and did eat and drink. And the Most High said unto Moses, Come up to me into the mount, and be there, and I will give thee tables of stone, and a law, and commandments which I have written, that thou mayest teach them. And Moses rose up, and his minister Joshua. And Moses went up into the mount of the Most High. And he said unto the elders, Tarry ye here for us, until we come again unto you. And behold, Aaron and Hur are with you. If any man have any matters to do, let him come unto them. And Moses went up into the mount, and the cloud covered the mount.
As you notice, before the next reader reads, as you notice, it tell you that Joshua was the minister. Okay, so a lot of what the Most High delivered to Moses, Joshua would deliver to the people. You understand? Now, also, if you notice, Joshua's name is spelt the exact way that the Khazars, or what you would call the Jewish powers, pronounce Christ's name. Now, they did this on purpose, also in their records, so that they could totally reject the name of the Most High and reject Christ. They rather give the credit of anything to Joshua and those of the Old Testament opposed to Christ. So that was a purpose effort to call the Savior Joshua. They did that on purpose. The Masoretes did this so that we would not call on the name of our Savior, the only name whereby man can be saved.
I know there was another doctrine that was saying Joshua was reincarnated as Christ. I heard that from Israel.
Somebody in Houston told you that Christ was reincarnated from Joshua.
Yeah, Joshua was reincarnated.
Total madness. All right, let's go ahead.
16. And the glory of the Most High abode upon Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it 6 days. And the 7th day he called unto Moses out of the midst of the cloud. And the sight of the glory of the Most High was like devouring fire on the top of the mount in the eyes of the children of Israel. And Moses went into the midst of the cloud and gat him up into the mount. And Moses was in the mount 40 days and 40 nights. Chapter 25, verse 1. And the Most High power spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, that they bring me an offering of every man that giveth it willingly with his heart. Ye shall take my offering.
Exodus 25.
Now, before you go there, I want to bring something out. So according to what we're reading, what is an offering? Real quick, what you were just reading there. What is an offering according to what you just read?
Well, it's something that you bring willingly. With your
Willingly
heart.
from your heart.
Yeah. You're not forced to do it.
Exactly.
It's not
a law. It's something that you give willingly outside of what you're lawfully obligated to. You understand? And I'm showing the difference between an offering and tithing. Like most people now, based on what happened in the Christian church, they gave everything and they gave it willingly and they realized it was a lie. But then they come to the truth and say, well, listen, I'm not tithing no more. Right? You understand? And then they'll look at what happened in the Christian church as their excuse not to tithe. But really, and then they'll say you're supposed to give from your heart, but that's an offering. That's on top of what the law says you should give so that the work can prosper and others can benefit. A lot happens with the tithing. I wanted to bring that out when it comes to offerings. There's a difference between offerings and tithing. Tithing is a law that was instituted in Melchizedek before Levi was born, okay? Yes, Santi, go ahead.
Exodus 25, verse 3.
Yes.
And this is the offering which ye shall take of the gold and silver and brass, and blue and purple and scarlet, and fine linen, and goat's hair, and rams, skins dyed red, and ledgers, skins, and shittim wood. Oil for the light spices for anointing oil and for sweet incense.
Verse 7. Iron stones and stones to be in the ephod and in the breastplate. And let them make me a sanctuary, that I may dwell amongst them, according to all that I showed thee. After the pattern of the tabernacle and the patterns of all the instruments thereof, even so shall ye make it. And ye shall make an ark of shittim wood. 2 cubits and a half shall be the length thereof, and a cubit and a half in breadth thereof, and a cubit and a half the height thereof. Verse 11. And thou shalt overlay it with pure gold within and without shalt thou overlay it, and shalt make upon it a crown of gold round about.
Verse 12. And thou shalt cast 4 rings of gold for it, and put them in the 4 corners thereof. And 2 rings shall be in the one side of it, and 2 rings in the other side of it. And thou shalt make staffs of shittim wood, and overlay them with gold. And thou shalt put the staffs into the rings by the side of the ark, that the ark may be borne with them. The staffs shall be in the rings of the ark, they shall not be taken from it. And thou shalt put into the ark the testament which I shall give thee.
Verse 17. And thou shalt make a mercy seat of pure gold. 2 cubits and a half shall be the length thereof, and a cubit and a half the breadth thereof. And thou shalt make 2 cherubims
Yeah.
of gold, of beaten work shalt thou make them, in the 2 ends of the mercy seat. And make 1 cube cherub on the one end, and the other cherub on the other end. Even on the mercy seat shall ye make the cherubims on the 2 ends thereof. And the cherubims shall stretch forth their wings on high, covering the mercy seat with their wings. And their faces shall look one to another. Towards the mercy seat shall the faces of the cherubims be. And thou shalt put the mercy of the seat above, put the mercy seat above upon the ark. And in the ark thou shalt put the testimony that I shall give thee.
And there I will meet with thee, and I will commune with thee from above the mercy, from between the 2 cherubims, which are upon the ark of the testimony of all things which I give thee in commandment unto the children of Israel. Thou shalt also make a table of shittim wood. 2 cubits shall be the length thereof, and a cubit the breadth thereof, and a cubit and a half the height thereof. And thou shalt overlay with pure gold, and make thereto a crown of gold round about. And thou shalt make unto a border of an hand breadth round about, and thou shalt make a golden crown to the border thereof round about. And thou shalt make for it 4 rings of gold, and put the rings in the 4 corners that are on the 4 feet thereof.
Verse 27. Over against the border shall the rings be the places of the staves to bear the table. And thou shalt make the staves of shittim wood, and overlay them with gold, that the table may be borne with them. And thou shalt make the dishes thereof, and spoons thereof, and covers thereof, and bowls thereof, to cover withal. Of pure gold shalt thou make them. And thou shalt set upon the table shewbread before me always. Verse 31. And thou shalt make a candlestick of pure gold, of beaten work shall the candlestick be. It shall be made. His shaft and his branches, his bowls, his knot, and his flowers shall be of the same.
And 6 branches shall come out of the sides of it. 3 branches of the candlestick out of one side, and 3 branches of the candlestick out of the other side. 3 bowls made like unto almonds, with a knot and a flower in one branch, and 3 bowls made like almonds in the other branch, with a knot and a flower. So in the 6 branches that come out of the candlestick, and in the candlestick shall be 4 bowls made like unto almonds, with their knots and their flowers. And there shall be a knot under 2 branches of the same, and a knot under 2 branches of the same, and a knot under 2 branches of the same, according to the 6 branches that proceeded out of the candlestick. Their knots and their branches shall be of the same. All it shall be one beaten work of pure gold.
You want to read?
Verse 37.
We're in Exodus
Exodus 25.
25. You're going to read 37 through 40 for us, if you don't mind. 37 through 40, if you don't mind.
And thou shalt make the 7 lamps thereof, and they shall light the lamps thereof, and they may give light over against it. And the tongues thereof, and the snuff dishes thereof, shall be of pure gold. Of a talent of pure gold shall he make it with all these vessels. And look that thou make them after their pattern, which was shewed thee in the mount. Chapter 26. Moreover, thou shalt make the tabernacle with the 10 curtains of fine twined linen, and blue and purple and scarlet, with cherubims of cunning work shalt thou make them. The length of one curtain shall be 28 cubits, and the breadth of one curtain 4 cubits, and every one of the curtains shall have one measure. The 5 curtains shall be coupled together one to another, and other 5 curtains shall be coupled one to another.
And thou shalt make loops of blue upon the edge of one curtain from the selvage, and in the coupling, and likewise shalt thou make in the uttermost edge of another curtain, and the coupling of the second. 50 loops shalt thou make in the one curtain, and 50 loops shalt thou make in the edge of the curtain that is in the coupling of the second. And the loops may take hold one another, and thou shalt make 50 tacks of gold, and couple the curtains together with the tacks, and it shall be one tabernacle. And thou shalt make curtains of goat's hair to be a covering upon the tabernacle. Even curtains shalt thou make. Can you read that, the next thing for the tabernacle? Lloyd? Yeah, 8 through 12.
8 through 12. Exodus chapter 26, verse 8. The length of the one curtain shall be 30 cubits, and the breadth of one curtain 4 cubits, and the 11 curtains shall be all of one measure. And thou shalt couple 5 curtains by themselves, and 6 curtains by themselves, and shalt double the 6th curtain in the forefront of the tabernacle. And thou shalt make 50 loops on the edge of one curtain that is outmost in the coupling, and 50 loops in the edge of the curtain which coupleth the second. And thou shalt make 50 taches of brass, and put the taches into the loops, and couple the tent together, that it may be one. And the remnant that remaineth of the curtains of the tent, the half curtain that remaineth, shall hang over the back side of the tabernacle.
Okay, now before we go into the questions, just want to show you what happened to the Ark of the Covenant. We went to the Ark of the Covenant, which was about 2 cubits long. A cubit is about an arm's length. Okay, so you got about 2 cubits long. And then you got 2 cubits going the other way. 4 cubits long, 2 cubits width. And one thing about the Ark of the Covenant, it had the angels that covereth, pure gold, and the presence of the Most High would come in the midst of the Ark of the Covenant to protect the children of Israel, especially during time of war. And he would speak to the Levites, the high priests, on behalf of the people. That's how we communicated with the Most High. The heavenly realm would become present amongst the priests. Also, I'm going to go into next week to show you the technology that the Most High have is well above this technology. Right now, we're looking through liquid crystal, whatever the case is. But each priest in the suburbs of each tribe had what you would call an oracle. It was something they would look into and communicate with the other priests that were all in different provinces, and nothing was plugged in. There was nothing you plug in. They would look at it, and speak to one of their brothers who was a priest over there with Manasseh. And they would look into the orbs, they're called an orb. And they can speak to their brother who's a priest over there that's dealing with Judah, or that's dealing with Naphtali. And I kind of think that this is the technology they try to mimic with the computers, but there was nothing plugged in. This is also spiritual technology in which the Most High would communicate directly from the heavenly realm into the earthly. And that was the Ark of the Covenant, which mimicked the mercy seat. So he gave meticulous measurements because they had to make it exactly how the Most High said. Also, the fact that he told them never take the staves or the poles out of the Ark of the Covenant. It was 4 rings. There was a staff that was laden with gold that was slid to both sides, and it would hold fast. And then you would have 4 Levites who were chosen to hold the ark. If any other tribe attempt to touch the ark, one time the ark almost fell from one of the guys who was holding the ark, and another Israelite tried to touch it, and it killed him on the spot. So only the 4 chosen could actually hold the Ark of the Covenant over their shoulders. Also, there was power. I mentioned it before. There was one war in which the Most High said, listen, we're not going to lose any men in this war. Just take the Ark of the Covenant and put it in the front and just stay back. And the Spirit came out of the Ark and just killed all the enemies before Israel, and then we walked forward. So that's the power in the Ark of the Covenant. They did a movie on it with Indiana Jones called Raiders of the Lost Ark, in which they were looking for the lost ark. Archaeologists are looking for it, but the Most High will not allow them to find it. We will get the ark when we are in the wilderness. That will happen. We will get it in the wilderness. And at that time, when the Bible says in Zechariah that the Most High shall be fire round about us, He's going to that's when His power is going to be released back in the earth amongst His people again. All right. Let's get what happened to the ark in Maccabees real quick, if you don't mind. Go ahead.
2 Maccabees chapter 2 verse 1.
Go ahead.
It is also found in the records. Second Maccabees chapter 2 verse 1. It is also found in the records that Jeremiah the prophet commanded them that were carried away to take up the fire, as it had been signified, and how that the prophet, having given them the law, charged them not to forget the commandments of the Most High Ahiah, and that they should not err in their minds when they see images of silver and gold with their ornaments. And with such others and other such speeches exhorted he them, that the law should not depart from their hearts. It was also contained in the same writing, that the prophet Jeremiah, being warned of the Most High Ahiah, commanded the tabernacle and the ark to go with him, as he went forth into the mountain, where Moses climbed up and saw the heritage of the Most High Ahiah.
So we know that the ark is near the wilderness in the same mount that's being protected under Saudi Arabia. The ark is there. They tell you in 2nd Baruch that once we're there, now the events of this earth, which are the 12 woes, and Baruch is going to drive us in that area. We're going to be forced to go there, those that are chosen to be there. And that's when the Most High is going to release the ark. Maybe one of the children are going to just be playing and just look, and it'll be there. But that's when we're going to receive the ark. And at that time, there's no weapon in this earth, I don't care what technology they've made, that can deal with the ark. There's nothing. No weapon in this earth can. That's what they wanted the ark for. They wanted to understand its power. They wanted to use it as a weapon. That's what they were looking for it for. And you notice when they went in the cave, the so-called I don't know if any of you seen the Raiders of the Lost Ark. They went in the cave to get it, and a spirit came out and killed everyone that was down round about. So here's the deep part of this. We're reading this out of the Apocrypha, scriptures in which the Catholic Church and the Christian Church tells us we're not supposed to read. So they have all this information looking for our relics and our archaeology and using it and want to use it as a weapon. But they tell us you can't read the Apocrypha. Without the Apocrypha, we don't know what happened to our history, what happened to our artifacts, what happened to the spiritual things the Most High gave us, right? Also, there's some guys claiming that they have the Ark of the Covenant in Ethiopia. They're lying. They're lying. And the powers will allow them to put that story out there. The Ark have not been found. It will be found, but it's not found. Finish what you're reading in Jeremiah. Go ahead.
2 Maccabees chapter 2 verse 5. And when Jeremiah came thither, he found an hollow cave wherein he laid the tabernacle and the ark and the altar of incense, and so stopped the door. And some of those that followed him came to mark the way, but they could not find it.
So some people wanted to mark the way just so they can go back and get it or know where it was hidden. But they marked the way and then they went back and their marks was gone. They couldn't find it. Read.
Verse 7. Which when Jeremiah perceived, he blamed them, saying, As for that place, it shall be unknown until the time that the Most High Ahiah shall gather his people again and receive them unto mercy.
See that? It's going to be held until he gathers people again and be held unto mercy. Read.
Verse 8. Then shall the Most High Ahiah show them these things, and the glory of the Most High Ahiah shall appear.
See that? Then the Ark of the Covenant will be showed to us. And what will happen there? And the Most High shall what?
And the glory of the Most High Ahiah shall appear.
The same as we read in the book of Exodus when he appeared before the priests. The Spirit of the Most High. Read.
And the cloud also, as it was showed unto Moses, and as when Solomon desired that the place might be honorably sanctified.
Hold that and get Zechariah the 2nd chapter real quick. To give us a time period in which we will receive the ark. Zechariah 2, let's first start at the first verse. Also, there's an exorbitant amount of gold that the Most High told Joseph to hide in a desert outside of Egypt. They can't find that either. And the Most High is going to give us that too. They can't find it. They won't be able to find it. They got the records and everything that we have, but the Most High won't allow them to get it. Right? Okay. All right. To show you the things we'll have, shalom, going into the wilderness. Read.
Zechariah chapter 2 verse 1. I lifted up mine eyes again and looked, and behold, a man with a measuring line in his hand. Then said I, Whither goest thou? And he said unto me, To measure Jerusalem, to see what is the breadth thereof, and what is the length thereof.
Go ahead.
And behold, the angel that talked with me went forth, and another angel went out to meet him, and said unto him, Run, speak to this young man, saying, Jerusalem shall be inhabited as towns without walls.
Jerusalem shall be inhabited as towns without walls. Now, this is not speaking of the modern day Jerusalem. This is speaking about God's people, the people who was ran out of Jerusalem. So we're going to be living in towns without walls. Read.
For the multitude of men and cattle therein.
So we will have men and cattle in the wilderness. Read.
Verse 5. For I, saith the Most High Ahiah, will be unto her a wall of fire round about, and will be the glory in the midst of her.
You see? So when we get the ark back, the Most High is going to be amongst us, in the midst of us again. We're going in the same exact geographical location. Same exact geographical location. And in the Middle East, they give you a fake Mount Sinai so that the people don't travel to the true Sinai. That Sinai they've given you over in Egypt is not the Mount Sinai. The Mount Sinai is actually in Saudi Arabia's territory. And I can easily tell people where it's at because you can't get there anyway right now without some serious trouble. So it doesn't matter if you know where it is. You can't get there right now. The guy that did go there got arrested. And especially if our people start popping up there, you can forget it. But what's going to happen with the destruction that's coming on the earth, the Most High is going to break the armies. There's going to be so much chaos within the Middle East that they're not going to, it's not even going to be about securing borders anymore. And that's when the Most High is going to start guiding our people in the same areas and will be protected. The same pillars are there, the same palm trees are there. Everything is still there that the Bible said in its exact order. And that's where we'll be. And once the number get there, because the Most High is going to gather Israel from different quarters of the earth, and he's using these destructions to do it. Once we're there, then the Most High, the ark is going to be revealed, and then we're going to be closed off from the rest of the earth. The other nations going to recognize the power at the same mount and everything, and realize that we're there. That all they've used to keep us divided is for naught, because now we're learning again. We're coming together again. We're learning to coexist without influence, without them at all. And that's when they're going to stop fighting each other and come to try to attack us. And it's going to be total curtains for them from that point. Okay? But that's what's going on in chronological order. But I wanted to read how we were going to get there. Read.
Verse 6. Ho, ho.
Ho, ho.
Come forth and flee from the land of the north.
Come forth and flee from the land of the north. Read.
Saith the Most High Ahia.
Saith the Most High. So what he's telling us is, be ready to get on foot. Get ready to leave. Get ready. Don't look for someone to try to move you someplace or do something. Be prepared. Read.
For I have spread you abroad as the four winds of the heavens, saith the Lord, the Most High Ahia.
Because the curse of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, the 64th verse, is that he would scatter us throughout the four corners of the earth, and in those lands we would learn other religions. We would serve wood and stone. But now he's telling us, begin to think about, it's time to start coming back now. That curse is off of us now. He's taking the religions from us. Right? Read.
Verse 7. Deliver thyself, O Zion.
Deliver thyself, O Zion.
That dwellest with the daughter of Babylon.
That dwelleth with the daughter of Babylon. That's crystal clear. And when we are moved into that particular area that I spoke of earlier, eventually the Most High is going to close us off. And he's going to judge us and deal with us face to face. Face to face, it's like he dealt with us in the wilderness. And our actions in the wilderness will determine if we go into Israel. Because that will be the last purging. The Bible says that there was one guy that decided that he wanted to eat swine's flesh under a tree in the wilderness. While we're in the wilderness, it tells us about that. And the Most High said, kill this guy. That's how we're going to be getting judged immediately. Some of us are going to be just found based on our sins. And it's not going to be no room for anything in the wilderness. No room for nothing. Right? Adverse to the Most High. No room for any adversity. Right? So while I'm on that, since we're speaking about Babylon, let's go to Jeremiah. Jeremiah 51.
Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 1. Thus saith the Most High Ahiah, Behold, I will raise up Babylon, I will raise up against Babylon, and against them that dwell in the midst of them, that rise up against me a destroying wind, and will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her, and shall empty her land. For in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about. Against him that
and shall what?
And will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her.
Fanners. Fanners is fanning the wind against the fire, keeping the fire burning. Read.
And shall empty her land.
And shall empty her land. Go ahead.
For in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about. Verse 3. Against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lifteth, let his lifteth up himself in his brigandine. And spare ye not her, young men, destroy ye utterly all her host. Thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans, and they that are thrust through in her streets. For Israel have not been forsaken.
So this is why the Most High is going to destroy Babylon, because Israel have not been forsaken. Okay? He didn't forget his people. He never forgot the children of Israel. We have forgotten ourselves. And the nations will never teach us of ourselves, the majority of them. But he never forgot us. Read.
Verse 5. For Israel hath not been forsaken, nor Judah of his God, of the Most High Ahiah of hosts, through their land, or though their land was filled with the sin against the Holy One of Israel.
Because that's what they tell you. Israel sinned against the Most High, and the Most High did away with his people. But they tell you in the Bible, even though our land was filled with sin, he never forgot us. Therefore, he sent his son for our sin as an opportunity for us to come back again as a people, so that the children of Israel could come back. Read.
Verse 6. Flee out of the midst of Babylon.
There it is again.
And deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity. For this is the time of the Most High Ahiah's vengeance.
So it says don't get caught up in the sin of her either. Flee from her and don't get cut off in her iniquity. The more time go by, the more evil she becomes. Now everyone, it's regular to get caught up into the sins of Babylon. It's almost normal. Okay, now homosexuality is at an all-time high. That's being aimed towards our people. Pedophilia, you name it, being aimed towards our people. The separations of communities are being aimed towards our people. So that we won't have no sense of culture, and now we're open prey for Babylon to be our teacher. Read.
He will render unto her a recompense. Verse 7. Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore the nations are mad.
All nations have drunken of the wine, the sin of Babylon, and now all the other countries who once had morality are out of their minds too. Just think about it. Look what China was and how much honor Asia had at one time. It was an honorable country. Now they running around with three-piece suits, total corporate jackals, killing their own people, eating babies over there now. They're mad. You can go over into these areas and order baby soup. They done lost their mind, linking in with Babylon. I remember the women used to be very honorable of the Asians. They would come over and you would hardly not say much. They were very nice. And now look at them. They sit in punk rock hair, running around looking. They got Americanized. Same with all people. All nations have gotten mad now. Read.
Verse 8. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her. Take balm for her pain. If so, she may be healed.
It says, take balm for her pain. If so, be she may be healed. If so, be she may be healed. And she can't be healed. So you can't take balm for her. You notice how the church is saying, well, pray for the country, pray for the president, and pray for the nation. There's no prayer for Babylon. Forget about it. Don't waste your prayer. She's already prophesied to be destroyed. There's no prayer. Pray for your people. Pray for the innocent who've been destroyed by the hands of Babylon. Read.
Verse 9. We would have healed Babylon.
We would have healed Babylon.
But she is not healed.
But she's not healed. She don't want to be healed. Why? Because she don't want to hear the law of the Most High. Not only is Babylon evil, now she's sending out her lieutenants to make the rest of the world evil. Just the other day, we on the radio show till early in the morning, speaking to a gay pastor in Jamaica who was sanctioned by his so-called gay high priest in Florida from America, sending gay pastors into Jamaica now. And not only was he a gay pastor, he's teaching at a seminary theologian college with no shame. So not only is Babylon wicked within herself, she sends out more wickedness to other countries. Right? And I'm speaking to this guy. I can't get this conversation out of my mind with this guy because he didn't believe anything in the Bible. But he was a Christian theologian teacher. And he likened the sin of him playing with another man's behind to somebody having a shirt on with two different linens. He equated that as the same sin. Huh? Yeah. It's no different than eating pork to him. And see, but people laugh, but this is the truth. This is what happens when you allow Babylon to thrive. And the Most High says, you can't, listen, the more you pray for this country, the more evil, the more she'll show you, listen, what are you praying for me for? I'm Babylon, don't you know this? So they done sent gay pastors to Jamaica. They sent gay pastors into Africa now and told Africa that we're going to cut off your resources if you don't accept the homosexual lifestyle. Right? This is where we are. Finish reading.
Jeremiah chapter 59, verse 9.
Go ahead.
We would have healed Babylon.
We would have healed Babylon.
But she is not healed. Forsake her.
Forsake her. The Most High says, don't even think about her. Forsake her. Get away from her. Why? There's no possible way you can be amongst her and not be influenced. It's the peer pressure of just being a satanic Babylonian within the country. It's pressure from every place. You got to look a certain type of way. You have to dress a certain type of way. You have to be with the in crowd. You have to go out on Friday nights and party sometimes. You will get caught up in some area of Babylon. In that mindset, right? Finish reading.
For her judgment reacheth unto heaven.
For her judgment reacheth unto heaven.
And is lifted up even to the skies.
And is lifted up even to the skies. She's out in space now. Sending her satellites out, her weapons. We have an interview coming up on the next radio show of a guy who actually worked with the military dealing with the satellites. And he says the majority of satellites have nuclear capability, nuclear heads to them. And he said he's seen one of our lessons and realized what was going on and quit the job because he knew that what they were putting the weapons out in space for. Just spoke with him a couple of days ago. He's going to come on and speak, and he worked inside in the military. Okay? Why would you have nuclear warheads on satellites out in space? He said he looked up and realized that he was actually controlling the technology that would fight against Christ. And he said, as soon as he realized it, everything made sense. Everything made sense. He started off in Iraq. He moved his way all the way up. Then they moved him to secret services where he trained for survival tactics and all those different things. And then he was hired on another level to work with the satellite program. Walked away from a job paying him 6 figures easy because he realized what was going on. He just was on YouTube one day and bumped into one video, and he said it totally changed him because he realized what he was a part of and quit. Right? This is real. I know they got the little atheists running around to try to make people believe that it's not real. God is not real. Stuff in the Bible is not real. But it's real. Chapter and verse.
Jeremiah chapter 51 verse 10.
Go ahead.
The Most High Ahiah have brought forth our righteousness,
Which is Christ.
Come, and let us declare in Zion the work of the Most High Ahiah,
Let us
power.
declare in Zion the work of the Lord our God. Zion is Israel. Let us declare to Zion what's going to happen. Why? Because the destruction is not for our turn. It's not as if we should feel upset that the destruction has come on the earth. This is what the Most High will use to set us free. What better way to set God's people free than to take down the place that have enslaved all of the tribes of Israel and show that as an example throughout all the earth? What better way? So that's going to be a sign once Babylon is dealt with. Right? Read.
Verse 11. Make bright the arrows.
Make bright the arrows.
Gather the shields. The Most High Ahiah have raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes.
The kings of the Medes. They go Iran again. We read them in Isaiah 13. The Most High is stirring up the spirit of the kings of the Medes. Read.
For his device is against Babylon.
For his device is against Babylon. That means the Persians have been preparing for this battle in our modern time. This is all they've been preparing for. According to their prophecies, they were born to do the Most High's will at this time. Don't get any clearer than that. Now, usually, if you understand the prophecy and what's going on here, usually you would back up off this thing, right? And say, well, hold up. Well, if they are prophesied to destroy Babylon, then I need to back up off these guys. So what is this campaign against Iran? All right? Americans don't want that war. They don't want the war. But Israel wants the war. So if Israel is controlling America. So if America don't strike it, Israel is going to strike it and pull America into this war. And they have already made America bare. They have spread Babylon's army thin all over the earth. They have spread the armies thin. They have poisoned all of the military. They have poisoned our people with vaccines all in the military. We're too weak to fight this coming war. We're spread too thin and we're sick. There's no way they can have a win against the Persians, the Medes. Impossible. So let's see what the Bible says is going to happen. And see, the Most High told us to declare this to Zion. Because it's our people that's praying and trying to hold this place up. Well, let's pray for the president. Let's pray for the country. It's our people holding it up. The rest of the people are getting out of there. Read.
Verse 11. Make bright the arrows.
Those are the missiles.
Gather the shields. The Most High Ahiah have raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, for his device is against Babylon.
Because their mindset and their devices is against Babylon. Read.
To destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Most High Ahiah, the vengeance of his temple.
That's what's prophesied, and they know what's prophesied. See, one thing about those eastern countries opposed to the western countries is they didn't lose sense of history and culture. They're from the old school. They're from the old world. So we are detached. The Western world is detached from understanding prophecy. Because you have to realize the Western world had to teach lies on the Bible to keep the people enslaved. So they're not in tune with true prophecy. But the people over the Middle East, like the Persians, who have never lost their culture, they're the same people who have always been there since the beginning of their fathers. They have never been displaced. They know the history. They know their will, and they know what their part is in this time of history. The Western world don't know. Read.
Jeremiah chapter 51 verse 12. Set up this standard upon the walls of Babylon. Make the watch strong. Set up the watchmen. Prepare the ambushes, for the Most High Ahiah have both devised and done that which he hath spake against the inhabitants of Babylon. And thou that dwellest upon many waters, abundant in treasures, thine end is come, and the measure of thy covetousness. Verse 14. The Most High Ahiah of hosts hath sworn by himself, saying, Surely I will fill thee with men, as with caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against thee.
And these men, which are like caterpillars, which means it's so many. Caterpillars have a lot of legs. Many legs on your country. What is this? Foreign troops. Foreign troops all within your country. Many legs that are not there to uphold your way of living, but they're there to destroy the country internally. Right now, Babylon is in the disarming phase. They're in the phase of disarming their citizens. Hey, after they're disarmed, it's over. It's going to be a total battle. And eventually they're going to attack the Medes. And now the Medes, like linking into where I stopped last week, the Medes have linked in with Cuba, and the Medes have linked in with Venezuela for basis of missiles. So that's the fire part. But I'm going to get into the water part first. The water part now. Show you that New York is actually going to be underwater eventually. Finish reading.
Jeremiah chapter 51 verse 15. He hath made the earth by his power. He hath established the world by his wisdom, and hath stretched out the heavens by his understanding. When he uttereth his voice, there is a multitude of waters in the heavens, and he causeth the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He maketh lightnings with rain, and bringeth forth the winds out of his treasures. Verse 17. Every man is brutish by his own knowledge. Every founder is confounded by the graven image. For his molten image is falsehood, and there is no breath in them. They are vanity, the work of errors, and the time of their visitation they shall perish. The portion of Jacob is not like them.
I can tell you the portion of Jacob is not like them. And they know this. That's why they have their genetic weapons that's aimed towards destroying these people. The portion of Jacob is not like them. Read.
For he is the former of all things.
For he is the former of all things. Read.
And Israel is the rod of his inheritance, and the Most High Ahiah of hosts is his name. Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war. For with thee will I break in pieces the nations.
So when he established Israel again, Israel will be used, the children of Israel will be used as a weapon against the nations who oppose the Most High. Read.
And with thee will I destroy kingdoms, and with thee will I break in pieces the horse and his rider, and with thee will I break in pieces the chariot and his rider. With thee also will I break in pieces man and woman, and with thee will I break in pieces old and young, and with thee will I break in pieces the young man and the maid. I will also break in pieces with thee the shepherd and his flock, and with thee will I break in pieces the husbandman and his yoke of oxen, and with thee will I break in pieces captains and rulers, and I will render unto Babylon and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea all their evil that they have done in Zion in your sight, saith the Most High Ahijah.
So the judgment is because of what they've done to the children of Israel. Lying on the children of Israel. So, oh yeah, you Gentiles, you from the seed of Ham. Dividing the people. Destroying the families. Hanging the men who had understanding of what was happening towards their people. Who was willing to defend the people. Separating the families. Killing children. Which they do today, separating them through their social services. These are the things they have done. And the Most High, even though we have forgotten those things, because we're not a vengeful type, that's not how we are. But the Most High never forgot these things. Right? Go ahead.
Verse 25. Behold, I am against thee, O destroying mountain, saith the Most High Ahijah, which destroyest all the earth. And I will stretch out my hand upon thee, and roll thee down from the rocks, and will make thee a burnt mountain. And they shall not take of thee a stone for a corner, nor a stone for foundations. But thou shalt be desolate forever, saith the Most High Ahijah.
That's the future. Read.
Verse 27. Set ye up a standard in the land. Blow the trumpet among the nations. Prepare the nations against her. Call together against her the kingdoms of Ararat, Mani, and Ashkenaz. Appoint a captain against her. Cause the horses to come up as the rough caterpillars. Verse 28. Prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes.
With the kings of the Medes. That's your Ayatollah Khomeini, and that's your Mahmoud Ahmadinejad and their armies. Read.
Verse 28. Prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes, the captains thereof, and all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion. And the land shall tremble and sorrow, for every purpose of the Most High Ahijah shall be performed against Babylon, to make the land of Babylon a desolation without an inhabitant.
Without an inhabitant. That means there will be no people living in houses in Babylon when this is done. Don't get any clearer than that. Now let's just deal with it in its proper context, because usually when you read this, some people out there, they would like to go into symbology or try to break down what they think it's saying. Let's see what it's saying verbatim.
Verse 29. And the land shall tremble and sorrow, for every purpose of the Lord shall be performed against Babylon.
Every purpose of the Most High shall be performed against Babylon. That means he's steadfast with this destruction. He understands exactly how he want to do it. There's no, listen, let's break it down. Read.
To make the land of Babylon a desolation without an inhabitant.
What does without an inhabitant mean? What's the metaphorical way of breaking that down? What's the symbolic way of without an inhabitant?
It's not destroyed. It's not
without, there's no way you can break without an inhabitant down any other way than without an inhabitant. People that's inhabiting Babylon will not be inhabiting Babylon. That's crystal clear. That means no people are living in Babylon.
Probably spiritually.
Huh?
Spiritually, not
Okay. No people are spiritually living in Babylon. Okay. All right. I wish some of these plagues were just spiritual. I'll tell you. Read on. I wish the war that the armies, the kings that he's stirring up, I wish they were spiritual too. Okay. And the arrows, which are the missiles, maybe they are metaphorically spiritual missiles. Finish reading, please.
Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 30. The mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holds. Their might have failed. They became as women.
Their might have failed, and they became as women. And it's no wonder they became as women. Look at what they're doing to all of our food and all of our water and the lifestyle, how they making the woman the man and the man the woman. Look at what they're doing. Okay? Let me tell you, they're not fluoridating the people over there in Iran. They're not chemtrailing their own people in Iran. They're not putting bisphenol A in the waters in Iran, turning the men feminine. They don't have a gay campaign or a homosexual campaign because they want their young men to be prepared for war. Not running around with a shirt tied up over their navel with a pair of Daisy Dukes on. See, and this is what goes on in America. All right? So this is, now the men have become women. Finish reading.
Verse 31. Middle of verse 30. Their might have failed. They became as women. They have burned her dwelling places. Her bars are broken. Verse 31. One post shall run to meet another, and one messenger to meet another, to show the king of Babylon that his city is taken at one end, and that the passages are stopped, and the reeds they have burnt with fire, and the men of war are affrighted. For thus the Most High Ahiah of hosts, the power of Israel, the daughter of Babylon, is like a threshing floor.
This proved to is not speaking of ancient Babylon. Now it's showing you who it's speaking of. The daughter of Babylon is like a threshing floor. Read.
It is time to thresh her, yet a little while, and the time of her harvest shall come. Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, hath devoured me. He hath crushed me. He hath made me an empty vessel. He hath swallowed me up like a dragon.
And Nebuchadnezzar represents the leader. How do we know this? Because Nebuchadnezzar was not the king of the daughter of Babylon. He was the king of ancient Babylon. So it's talking about the leader. Nebuchadnezzar was the leader of ancient Babylon. So it says, Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, hath devoured me. He hath crushed me, telling you what your leaders have done to us. Read.
He hath swallowed me up like a dragon. He hath filled his belly with my delicates. He hath cast me out. The violence done to me and to the flesh, and to my flesh, be upon Babylon. Shall the inhabitant of Zion say, and my blood be upon the inhabitants of Chaldea. Shall Jerusalem say.
Read on.
Therefore thus saith the Most High Ahiah, behold, I will plead thy cause, and take vengeance for thee. I will dry up her sea, and make her springs dry.
That's a drought. Go ahead. And right now, how many cities are dealing with a drought within Babylon right now? Right? Read.
Verse 37. And Babylon shall become heaps, a dwelling place for dragons, an astonishment and an hissing, without inhabitant.
Without an inhabitant. So this cannot be speaking of ancient Babylon, because people are still living in Iraq. There's people inhabiting Iraq right now, which is ancient Babylon. Finish reading.
Verse 38. They shall roar together like lions. They shall yell as lions' whelps. In their heat I will make their feast. I will make them drunken. that they may rejoice, and sleep a perpetual sleep, and not wake, saith the Most High Ahiah. I will bring them down like lambs to the slaughter, like rams with he-goats. How is Shishak taken, and how is the praise of the whole earth surprised? How is Babylon become an astonishment among the nations? The sea is come up upon Babylon.
Read it again.
The sea is come up upon Babylon.
The sea is come up upon Babylon.
She is covered with the multitude of the waves thereof.
She is covered with the multitudes of the waves thereof. What's that? Water. That's a judgment that's coming to her. Read.
Verse 43. Her cities are a desolation, a dry land and a wilderness, a land wherein no man dwelleth, neither doeth any son of man pass thereby. And I will punish Bel in Babylon, and I will bring forth out of his mouth that which he hath swallowed up. And the nations shall not flow together any more unto him.
Hold up now. The nations shall not flow together unto her. You got the Statue of Liberty. Bring me your poor. Bring me the young. Bring me all ethnicities. They're flowing into Babylon, but the Most High is going to close the gate on that. A matter of fact, when the wars begin, the Bible tells us, Jeremiah tells us, that the nations are going to begin to go back to their own people. And that's what they do. They don't go to stay with the whore. They go to lay with her. And then they get the money, send the money back to their respective countries, and set up a house off the money they make on us, and eventually they go back to where they came from. This is how they operate. So the Most High is going to stop the flowing of the people going into that country. Read.
Jeremiah chapter 51, the end of verse 44. Yea, the wall of Babylon shall fall. Verse 45. My people, go ye out of the midst.
Hold up, read that again.
My people, go ye out of the midst of her.
I think within this chapter, he said flee and get out of her around 3-4 times. Right? Read.
My people, go ye out of the midst of her, and deliver ye every man his soul from the fierce anger of the Most High Ahiah. And lest your heart faint, and ye fear for the rumor that shall be heard in the land. A rumor shall both come 1 year, and after that in another year shall come a rumor. And
wars and rumors of wars. You're hearing about it, and because it's not happening, you think it's not going to happen. Read.
Verse 46, end of verse 46. And violence in the land, ruler against ruler. Verse 47. Therefore, behold, the days come that I will do judgment upon the graven images of Babylon, and her whole land shall be confounded, and all her slain shall fall in the midst of her. Then the heaven and the earth, and all that is therein, shall sing for Babylon, for the spoiler shall come unto her from the north, saith the Most High Ahiah. As Babylon hath caused the slain of Israel to fall, so at Babylon shall fall the slain of all the earth. Ye that have escaped the sword, go away, stand not still. Remember the Most High Ahiah afar off, and let Jerusalem come into your mind.
Listen to this clear. Ye that have escaped the sword, that means you escaped the destruction that's coming to Babylon, go away and stand not still. So when you leave, remember the power or the God Ahiah afar off, and let Jerusalem come into your mind, because that's looking forward, not looking back. Now let Jerusalem come into your mind. She's finished. Right? Read.
Verse 51. We are confounded, because we have heard reproach. Shame hath covered our faces. For strangers are come into the sanctuary of the Lord's house.
Strangers have destroyed us. Strangers have destroyed our sanctuary, our belief. They destroyed our understanding so that we cannot connect to our God. They've given us their gods. Baal, Satan, the dragon, Moloch, These are the gods we've been worshiping ignorantly. Jesus, Zeus. Okay, we ain't know nobody named Jesus. Total madness. And then when we wake up and understand these things and say, well, hold up. I'm a stranger here. You dragged me here. And the Most High start reviving us. They be like, okay, we have one can see extremist. You're a terrorist. Read on.
Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 52. Wherefore, behold, the days come, saith the Most High Ahiah, that I will do judgment upon her graven images.
You're going to destroy all your images and your idols. And man, if you even look at Washington, D.C., it's idol after idol. Monuments of idols. Obelisks, which is man's personal member. That's what an obelisk is. What's that, the Washington Monument? Idols every place. 5-pointed stars every place. Read.
End of verse 52. And through all her land the wounded shall groan. Verse 53. Though Babylon shall mount up to heaven, and though she should fortify the height of her strength, yet from me shall spoilers come unto her, saith the Most High Ahiah.
So it lets you know that she's actually building a fort to fight against the Most High. Though Babylon should mount up to heaven, that's NASA, and though she should fortify the height of her strength, that means build her military, yet from me shall spoilers come unto her, saith the Lord. Regardless of her intent to go out in space and fight against the Most High is going to send spoilers amongst her. Read.
Verse 54. A sound of a cry cometh from Babylon, and great destruction from the land of the Chaldeans, because the Most High Ahiah have spoiled Babylon, and destroyed out of her the great voice. When her waves do roar like great waters, a noise of their voice is uttered, because the spoiler is come upon her, even upon Babylon, and her mighty men are taken. Everyone of their bows is broken, for the Most High Ahiah, our power of recompense shall surely requite. Verse 57. And I will make drunk her princes and her wise men, her captains and her rulers, and her mighty men, and they shall sleep a perpetual sleep, and not wake, saith the King, whose name is the Most High Ahiah of hosts. Thus saith the Most High Ahiah of hosts, the broad walls of Babylon shall be utterly broken, and her high gates shall be burnt with fire, and the people shall labor in vain, and the folk in the fire, and they shall be weary.
And when it says labor in vain, your work is for nothing. Your work is for nothing. Thought I'll go into that to bring some information concerning Babylon. What time we have here? It's 8 o'clock. Okay. That's the future of Babylon. So yes, we got to come out of her spiritually, but we have to come out of her spiritually, physically too. So I wanted to put that out there. I wanted to ask a few questions, but I guess I'll get you all next week. All right. Did she see the scriptures?
Yes, she saw something.
Good. All right. So what I'll do is I'll open this up for questions. We can have questions answered here, and we can have questions answered from online. Okay, I got a message that said 2 strong earthquakes struck northwest Iran on Saturday, and at least 60 people were taken to the hospital, but there were no reports of any deaths. Okay, so they're using some of those weapons against them. Weather warfare. Okay, thank you for that. Okay. Yes.
What does recompense mean?
Recompense means payback. Payback. Now, there's a sure way to believe that none of this will happen. And this is what people do. They believe if they can deny that it's going to happen within their own mind, that it's not going to happen. And this is what, and believe it or not, that's a result of destroying the people's culture and sense of family and community. That's a result. Because usually when it comes to the fear of the Most High, that's something that's passed down from generation to generation. You learn to fear the Most High. You learn to follow the Most High based on what's going on in your culture, your family. But if they can destroy that and make you believe that everything is by chance and everything is individual, as if there wasn't family influences at first. If they can make you believe that everything is by chance and you will your own destiny, you just got to think it so and all that other New Age madness. They think that if they walk with that type of mindset, it's not going to happen. But the Bible tell you in Romans, for what if some did not believe? So what if you don't believe what we're teaching here? Paul asked, so what if some did not believe? Shall your unbelief make the faith of God without effect? You mean the Most High is going to stop his whole program because you don't believe something? No, you're dead. That's what you are. Okay, his program was before us, and it will be well after us. And that's for the people that's walking out there and say, well, there's wars all the time. There have always been these situations. Every few years this happens. Nothing is going to change. That's a dead man.
So it's something the South promote as well.
Huh?
The South promote that way of thinking as well.
Yeah.
They say what is a God to a non-believer. So if you don't believe in God, it's going to fail.
Yeah. Then they got this thing, you don't got to believe in God, just be a good person. How can you be a good person without the fear of God? Total madness. Okay. I got a few good questions here, and maybe some of you had the same questions. Will the majority of what we taught be before Christ is coming? Yes. Yes. Babylon is not going to be destroyed by the coming of Christ. Babylon will not exist when Christ comes. That place is going to already be it's going to be smoking when Christ returns. Well before Christ returns, that place is going to be totally smoking with no inhabitants. All right. What's the next one here? Will there be Gentiles in the wilderness? Absolutely 100%. Isaiah, the 14th chapter, tell you the strangers shall be joined with us. And we're putting this out there because, listen, we should more so be focusing on how the righteous shall be saved, not how the wicked shall be punished. Because I'm going to tell you, the Bible says if he went to another people of another speech of a foreign language, they would have came back to the Most High already. So my focus is not on wondering if a Gentile is going to be there, because 9 times out of 10, if a Gentile see what they got to do, they're going to do it. It's our people that's the issue. It's our people that don't want to follow the Most High. Even when Ezekiel had to go out to teach the people, the Most High said, well, I send you to a hard-headed, rebellious, stiff-necked people. Go prophesy, but they will not hear. So Ezekiel was like, well, what's going on? He said, well, prophesy to the wind. So yeah, Gentiles will be with the children of Israel in total order. But the Gentiles that refuse to follow the Most High, like Isaiah the 60th chapter say, 60 and 12, they will die by the sword. That apply to Israel too, though. What is needed when you say it prepared? Let's get that in 2nd Ezra real quick, where it talks about be like pilgrims. That goes into what's needed. There's only a few verses there. What's that? 15. I think it's about the 69th verse. One second here. I wanted to go into what's happening in Syria, but I guess I'll deal with that next week. Let's see here. The 16th chapter, real quick. What's
verse 40?
Verse 40?
Mm-hmm.
Let's get the 40th verse. Read it.
2nd
Ezra in the Apocrypha. Go ahead.
2nd Ezra, chapter 16, verse 40. O my people, hear my word. Make you ready to the battle, and in those evils be even as pilgrims upon the earth.
In that day, be like pilgrims upon the earth. That means prepare yourself to operate with what's on your back. Prepare yourself. Understand that whatever you have, your TV, your couch, whatever you have, if your heart is in any of those things, that's what's going to destroy you. Buy whatever you're buying, understand that you have to leave it. All right? Someone asked about the cherub compared to when the Most High said, you're not supposed to make unto thee any graven images. The Most High made it clear in Exodus the 20th chapter that he was speaking of to worship. There's no scripture in the Bible that tells the Levites and the children of Israel to bow down and use the Ark of the Covenant as a form of a place you worship to. Okay? It's not an idol in which you would take into your house and worship. That's what it's speaking of there. All right. Is there scriptures on South America in the Bible? Not in specific. When it speaks of South America, it speaks of lands where the 10 tribes were scattered. It don't speak. It's called Arzareth. And North America is a part of Arzareth. South America will not be utterly destroyed because the Bible tells us that at the very end, the ships of Tarshish will come into those areas where the Indian tribes are and start moving them out. Well, those that are left. Who are the Danites in the world today? The Danites in the world today are the modern day people who are along the coast of the Mediterranean, you got a part of Turkey, northern Turkey. Southern Turkey, which are some of them are Danites. You have Lebanon, Danites, the people that's in Tyre and Zidon today, that are not Jewish are Danites. Okay. Some of the people in the Greek Isles are Danites. Okay, what else here? The Greek Orthodox Church was set up by Danites. They are in war or in variance with the Catholic Church. And that's a lesson we're going to go into soon. Okay. What else we have? Okay, if you would like to tithe to the church,